Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. I hope you're doing fine wherever you are today. So, for me, I thought that the question of Jesus is black or white, this is something that we went past, and the record was set out there, and people knew the truth. But again, I was so surprised to see still some people are still not believing, and they go out there, they try trolling these gentlemen for saying the truth, for going out there and trying to tell people the truth. And he was giving his facts, and he was saying that indeed who was really Jesus. And he also gave the descriptions that provides and proves the fact, the color of Jesus. And he quoted some Bible. That was Songs of Solomon, that was Revelation, that was Hebrew. So people got out there and started trolling him for saying this, and I find it so advisable because I believe that this is a discourse. And even when President Putin opened the vault and let people know the truth, and this was a fact, and I thought that this is a discussion that we were done with, but still we have some people who are still not believing. And when they trolled these gentlemen for saying this, I want us to watch this video, and then I'm going to give you my critical analysis at the end of the video. I don't want to interrupt it, but I just want us to watch this video, and then we'll come say something. I'm also going to read you the comments of people on how they were denying this, and I'm also going to give you my own view about this issue. So let's dive right into the video.
How do I say this? The entire Bible is about black people.
All right, let's see it.
Not only was Jesus black, but every character in the Bible seems to be black too. Yeah, Zephaniah and Jeremiah and Jebediah, those all aren't white people names, okay?
Loads of problems here. To begin, black and white are not the only two options, but additionally, those racial categories would not exist within 1,000 years of the composition of the Bible. And those names are only stereotypically associated with black folks in parts of North America today because of our recent history. That does not mean that anyone who had this name 2,000 to 3,000 years ago was a black person. Those categories didn't mean anything back then. These are Southwest Asian names. These are names taken from Northwest Semitic naming conventions that include Yahwistic theophoric elements. Nothing about these names indicates everyone in the Bible was black.
And Jesus wasn't some tan, partially melanated Middle Eastern person either. I'm talking straight up black dude, okay? Even in the book of Revelation, when you get the vision of Daniel, he's describing someone with feet like burnt brass and white woolly hair, and we've got the deep running water voice with the red eyes, and you guys, he's black.
So this entirely misrepresents the text of Revelation 1, which is not describing Jesus as a black man, but is describing Jesus in terms that would evoke the notion of a radiant, brilliant, lustrous divine being. This was how deities were stereotypically represented anciently, as someone who was just so brilliant that they were difficult to look at. So it does not say that Jesus' hair had the texture of wool. It said Jesus' hair was white as wool and white as snow. It does not say Jesus' eyes were red. And I don't know how that is indicative of a black person, but what it says is that Jesus' eyes were like a flame of fire. They were glowing, they were brilliant. It does not say Jesus had a deep voice. It said Jesus had a voice like the roaring of many waters. It does not say that Jesus' feet were like burnt bronze. It says that Jesus' feet were like fine bronze burning in a furnace. In other words, glowing hot. So that's the imagery here, and what is skipped over in this description is the part where it says that Jesus' face was shining like the sun at midday. This is imagery of a deity who is so brilliant and lustrous and radiant that they're difficult to look at, and this is where the idea of not being able to survive seeing the deity directly came from. So this is just using stock imagery of a divine being from the Hebrew Bible to represent the way that Jesus appeared. In other words, Jesus is a deity.
The Jewish people are black people, like Kanye was right. And those people yelling at the park dressed in purple about black people being the real Hebrew Israelites, they're right, okay?
So the data do not remotely support the notion that black folks are the real Jewish people. There are obviously Jewish people who are black, and there have been for many, many centuries. But to say that they're the real Jewish people is to say that folks who claim to be Jewish, and this is primarily targeting Ashkenazi Jewish people, are not real Jewish people, but are fake Jewish people. And this usually also corresponds with an appeal to the Khazar hypothesis, a long debunked and profoundly anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that holds that Ashkenazi Jewish folks are entirely or almost entirely descended from Khazar converts to Judaism from around 1,000 years ago. And the data just roundly refute this conspiracy theory. It is not supported by linguistic, by archaeological, by genetic, by historical, by any other data. It is a conspiracy theory that is used to try to undercut the claim of Ashkenazi Jewish people to descent from the people of the land of Israel, Palestine. And it is false.
Like, anytime you see the word Hebrew or Israelite or Jew in the Bible, in your mind you got to replace that with black person.
This is a profoundly anti-Semitic claim that is not supported by any data.
I mean, they were literally whipping him on his way to get crucified, you guys. Crucifixion was a punishment, like, for slaves back then, and gladiators. And all the gladiators were black too. Did you know that?
This is also not true, but the notion that if someone is being whipped and they're a slave, anciently, they must be black, is just wildly ignorant.
Like, you guys, he was sold for 30 pieces of silver. That was the maximum amount of money that a slave could be sold for. Oh, just coincidence?
And again, just because Jesus was conceptualized as a slave does not mean Jesus was black. Black people are not coterminous and coextensive with slavery throughout all time.
Above his cross, it says INRI. They were like mocking him. They were saying it says this is the king of the Jews. They're saying, like, here's the king of the black people. Look what we did to him. Why does the KKK burn crosses, you guys? The racist KKK.
So burning crosses was a practice that was picked up by the KKK in the early 20th century, and it served two main purposes. Primarily, it was used to intimidate black folks, very similar to setting up Confederate monuments in public spaces, which was something that states and cities began to do around the same time period. And then it also served a pro-social function within the Klan. It was a ritual of group solidarity. It has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on how we reconstruct Jesus's appearance anciently.
It's just black people rejoice. You are God's chosen people. Like, I mean, those are some big shoes to fill, but be honored. Like, feel good about that. Like, how cool. Anyway, see you later. Jesus was black.
It's one thing to counter the narrative that Jesus was a white European man. It's another entirely to promote an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that is not based on any data.
So I understand the guy was trying to give his points and trying to show how Jesus was not black, or rather trying to prove the point that Jesus was not black. But I'd rather show you something. I'd rather read you something that will at least show that indeed even the Bible itself proves that Jesus was a black person during the medieval times. This is a proof that has been shown over time. People have talked about this. This is a topic where people have debated, and I thought that this is something which is long ago and people are now settled, and people who never believed this were done with it. But now again, they are bringing it up. They don't want to agree with this, and I don't know why is it so hard. And something that I like to question myself, if somebody is saying that color is not an issue, why are they denying the fact that they're saying that Jesus is not black? Why is then they're saying that the issue of Jesus, the color of Jesus, is not a factor, Rather, is Jesus to all people. Okay, I agree. Is Jesus to all people. Another crazy thing that people also get to punish this gentleman is that when he said that that everybody in the Bible was black. Okay, for me, I'm not sure about this. I'm not really sure about this. But the fact that Jesus was black, for me, I can defend that. I can defend that. And I'm going to read you this to show you that indeed this is something which happened. So I'm going to just read it to you directly. I'm not going to... according to Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5 to 6. Dark I am, yet lovely, daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, like the tents curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me, because I'm dark, because I'm darkened by the sun. This passage, no, that's the description of Jesus according to Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5 to 6. That's one of the proofs that shows just Jesus was black. However, I understand that is depiction of who really was doesn't really point to the accent that is black, but we can relate. We can relate. Let me read you what these people are saying, what they were saying, what they feel, because I believe that this is their representation of what they really think Jesus was. So somebody said, it's funny how they think Jebediah and Jeremiah are black names because it's commonly found in black communities. Most American black people names aren't black. They don't come from black or African ancestors. The complete opposite of the vast majority of black names are all white names. For example, Tyrone and Dante are two common black people names, but none of the words originated from Africa or black people. Those names actually came from Europe. Same with Chalmagny. Many associate this name as black name, but it is also not. It's a Europe name, specifically coming from French ancestors. The main reason why these are associated with black people is due to slavery. Their masters stripped their slaves from their native African names and named them by their surnames and called them European names. The slaves adopted these and now they are associated with them in America, even though they are not black names at all. Europeans will also call themselves Hebrew names because the vast majority of them were Christians. So they called themselves things like Caleb or Zechariah and other common names in the Bible. Tabitha is also a Bible name. That doesn't mean that ancient Hebrew were white, either nor black. I think this was a neutral person, and at some point, there is a factors that I agree with them, because you find that the slaves or the ancestors who came from Africa, only those who came from Africa, of course, all of them came from Africa. I don't mean nothing that some never came from Africa. Of course, when they came from Africa, they had their African names, right? So when they went there, the names changed and they started having the European names. And today, as it said, it is true. We also having different names which doesn't sound African. And even back in Africa itself, when we were colonized, our names now went and we are having, like for me, I'm called Eugene. I don't know if Eugene is in the Bible. I don't know if Eugene is an African name, but my last name, which is Omondi, my surname, that's an African name. Somebody said, you get the Egyptian Bible, not the King James Version. I don't know which Bible is telling the truth, but the fact that this Bible was inspired by God himself, I believe that what they're saying is true. Whether it's the King James Version, whether it's the Ethiopian Bible, of course, all of them allude to what Jesus was, and Jesus was indeed a black person. Somebody says that So how are you feeling about your take on him not being black these days? Yeah, we get the guy gave a lot of false reasons for black Jesus, but he still was black. Yes, indeed, Jesus was black. These people trolled this guy for saying that Jesus was black. And indeed it was. Indeed he was. And he is. Somebody also said that Jesus is black, like the Hebrew were white. People have hard times accept this. This is crazy. All these paintings of Hebrew and Jesus are black, and ancient Egypt were black people. Somebody quoted the Bible. Let's listen to what he said. Daniel chapter 7 verse 9. As I looked, thrones were placed, and the Ancient Days took his seat. His clothing was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was fiery flame. Its wheel were burning fire. Clearly, his hair was the texture of wool. Let's not be in denial about that. This totally explains why black people have specific hair type, yet nobody else on this planet does. Those African descent are most likely chosen ones of the scripture. Period. Somebody saying his race or ethnic marker is no concern. If his race or his marker is no concern, why is it an issue when we say that Jesus was black, while in the past you people were saying indeed that Jesus was a white person? And even if today you come to our African homesteads, you'll still find the paintings of white Jesus. If you go to Car, the rosaries and everything, that's how crazy it can be. And now you guys are coming out here and saying that the race or ethnic marker is no concern. It is. Somebody is saying he was definitely black and brown, Native Mexican, Native American, whatever the government labeled us regardless of native blood. But the first people of the world was black ants down Ethiopia. As interesting history, and I truly believe that the prophet, one God's Yeshua, was black. Indeed he was. Somebody said that is there a black, brown, white Jesus? From every nation, from every generation, a child is given to us. Does it even matter? I don't know. You tell me if it matters. Tell me in the comment section. Does it really matter? To this I say there should be a word of the year for the word anti-Semitic. Seriously, it's being abused and used like a toilet paper. Seriously. Somebody said, I understand your frustration because I was told Jesus was white man with blue eyes all my life, and come to find out he is not, and so I understand your frustration. Somebody saying the truth is out. These other races were recently invented. Black people were the first people. Somebody saying crazy how you won't say slavery, lol. Somebody is also saying you can't debunk anything, Heathen. I'm not including you who have come into the truth. You are strangers and you are my brothers and sisters in the Most High. I think this is a person who is trying to say that the fact that this thing is written in the Holy Book, you cannot deny it. You can never deny it. And I don't know why it's still hard for people to accept this. The fact that they are saying that the concern of ethnicity or the color of Yeshua is not an issue. Why in the past, why was it an issue? Now that we have found out the truth, now again, it's not an issue. Come to think about it. Come to think about it. Somebody said that shalom, blessings. Wow, I'm so sorry you have to deal with mature comments on this page. You have proved everyone wrong, from deceitful people believing that Jesus is black. Come on, man, Jesus was black. I don't know why these people kept on trolling this guy for telling the truth. Somebody say, wow, just wow. I know Jesus may not be white, but I don't think he will be black as we see black. I think he look Middle Eastern, maybe like Raj, from the Big Bang Theory. I don't know why some people believe that if Jesus was not black, he probably came from the Middle Eastern part. I don't know. I just don't know. Is it hard just to admit that he was black? I could read these comments night and day, night and day. There are so many. But I want you to tell me, what do you think about this video? What do you feel about this video? Do you agree with these people who are claiming that Jesus was not black? Tell me what you think about this in the comment section. This is your presenter Eugene Joki Stories. Let's meet on the next video. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.